From your mouth to God's ears. Many years ago, I joined a building group called Let's Build Our Homes, ZW. I knew one day I would love to own a home in Zimbabwe, but this seemed really unattainable, to be honest. I mean, all we'd ever known was hard work. However, the maths just didn't add up. Fast forward to 2022, I had lost my mom and was just so depressed. I would always pester my husband about Zimbabwe, and initially he wasn't convinced. But once he was on board, we would pray about it. It was all we spoke about. So I am going to be documenting how we managed to buy land, build a property in Zimbabwe without ever setting foot. I would love to share how we managed to get to a point where we are now. So first point of discussion is, how did we manage to successfully purchase land in Zimbabwe without going there? So what we did is, we were so fortunate that we managed to find a really good solicitor, and I'm quite happy to share their details if anybody would want that. So this solicitor pretty much did everything for us. And like I mentioned earlier, I had started following this group called Let's Build Our Homes. So in that group, I searched for a builder because I didn't even have land, but I searched for a builder. So this builder connected us to somebody that was selling land in the area that we decided to settle in. And that seller was a private seller. So we then informed our solicitor that we would like to purchase this particular piece of property. Can you help us? So they pretty much did everything. Because we were not in Zimbabwe at the time, we had to do my affidavit to allow my brother-in-law to sign us off, whatever needed to be signed off, especially with the agreement of sale and everything. The process itself, to be honest, the solicitor did everything. My brother-in-law would just go to on our behalf to sign any documentation. So it was quite seamless. And the fortunate thing for us is the person who was selling the property was actually in England. So when it came to making payments, we sent money straight to their bank account in pounds, the equivalent of whatever the price was in US dollars. Nevertheless, prior to getting the recommendation from the builder that I had met on Let's Build Our Homes, I had been looking for land on websites such as Zim Classifieds. There were some people that had groups that would advertise sellers. I just say, no matter who is selling, you just need a solicitor, really. So to conclude this purchasing episode, I would strongly recommend the solicitor that we used. She's been used by quite a lot of people that I know from the groups that I had joined when we decided that we wanted to build a house in Zimbabwe. So yeah, in the next episode, I am going to talk about the size of land and house plans. Bye. So once you've purchased the land, the next step is to approach an architect. So I'm quite happy to share the architect who did our property plan. I'm quite happy with the work that he did. I'm quite happy with the final product. What we based our decision on was that this would be a retirement home. I'm turning 40 this year. My husband is in his mid-40s. So we know that this is a house that we're going to stay in our older years. So we made sure that the plan catered for that. So once we had a plan, we approached our city council with a plan and we submitted it. This is when the games start. I did not know how expensive it would be to actually submit a plan to the city council. Our council was charging $1.50 per square meter. So it meant that however big your property is, that is how much the council would charge as a total for approving your house plan. So we ended up spending almost like $900 for just the council to approve our house plans. So after the council approves your house plan, they give you a stage form, and if you look at this video at the start of the video, you'll see the stage form. That stage form is your life. You literally have to follow that stage form, and at every stage you have to comply with council regulations. So the way they do it is that they'll come and do inspections at every stage that you've completed. So you have to make sure that you pass each stage and it's signed off, and at the end of your journey of building, you have this stage form that's completely signed, and you are legal, basically. Because if you don't follow the stages for the council, you could end up losing your property. You could end up having demolitions and things like that we've seen on Facebook, Anamrambachina and all of that. So you have to comply with these particular guidelines that are set by the council of whatever locality that you end up residing in. As a disclaimer, these videos were recorded by amateurs, so they're not quality, but that's what we have. So our plan was approved within 4 days because we paid for the express. Usually the councils take 2 weeks, 3 weeks, some councils a month. It depends with their backlog. So we decided to pay for the express. So once our plan had been approved, we were ready to build. So in the next post, I will detail what needs to be at the property before you even consider building your property. I will also talk about the phenomenal couple that live at our property and have seen us through the journey of building our dream home. I will also address any questions that people have regarding anything that I've posted about building your dream home in Zimbabwe. Bye. Before I document any further, I just want to take an opportunity to say thank you to this phenomenal lady called Amairu. Amairu was my childhood nanny from the age of 12, and I've known this woman since I was a girl, and she's seen me through all these years. And I just want to say thank you, because she is the one who looks after the property with her husband. She is the one who is our accountant. She is our project manager. She is everything, and I just want to acknowledge her and give her flowers, because I've heard so many stories from people saying kuvaka Zimbabwe unojirwa mari nehama. There have been so many gory stories that I've heard, but this woman has made sure that every thousand that we've sent, every penny is accounted for. And I just want to say thank you, Amairu. We would never have achieved what we have achieved without this phenomenal lady, and I just want to say thank you, Mairu. I absolutely love you. I've loved you since I was a child, and I will continue to love you till the end of time. I'm so glad that I got to experience this with you, your first ever plane ride, and it's just to say thank you, Amairu, for everything that you do. Tinozviona, tinotenda, tinokudai. So exciting times. You are ready to build. Your plan has been approved. The first thing that you need to make sure is on the property is a toilet for your builders. You're also going to need a cabin for the people that will be looking after your property. We opted for a wooden cabin because that's what we could afford. Some people use concrete panels, but at the time we could only afford the wooden panels. And Mairu and Babaru so graciously lived in the cabin during the first year of us building that property. The next thing is that you need water. For the first 1.5 years of our building, we didn't have a borehole, so we were buying water, and we would buy water at $40 per 5,000 liters. It was quite expensive, but we didn't really feel we wanted to spend a big lump sum on the borehole. I mean, in hindsight, it was the same thing, because we ended up spending quite a lot of money on buying water, but we eventually managed to get a borehole 1.5 years later. So those are the things that need to be at the property, and obviously someone trustworthy looking after your material. Babaru has very strict policies when it comes to material use, and honestly I will probably share some tips of what he did to make sure that anything. So you are now at the point where you are ready to look for material. You are ready to do what we did not do, and that is to shop around. We did not shop around. That was one of the most fundamental mistakes that we made at the start of our building. However, in hindsight, we were still developing a relationship with Baba Namairu, so we didn't know who we could trust. we'd heard all the stories about unobirwa, vanwanoba, umwanenga chivaka imba yake pasaidi hoya kwa chivaka, all these things. We'd heard all these stories. So we found a company that would deliver products and then accept payment only on delivery. So that meant we cut out any exchange of money with any middleman. We would send the money directly to this company via World Remit. What they would do is once they arrive at our house, they would say, Tauya, we've got your bricks, so we've got this. I would then contact Baba or Mairua Kuti Vanvaeva, and they would confirm. They would also confirm the quantities that were sent. I didn't know behind the scenes, Baba Rova, as honest as he was, every time things would come, he would document kutipasukama bricks mangani. He would know to the T how many bricks or cement bags the builders have used that day. He would literally, he had a logbook that I never requested him to create, but he decided to do that for us. Dornonzurulo, that is, quite amazing to find out later. This was later on into our building that I realized that he actually had a logbook and has receipts from the moment we started trusting them with finances. So anyway, back to this company. This company had such an amazing service. However, it was one of the most biggest mistakes that we made because we didn't shop around. So whatever pricing they would put on the products that we ordered was what we accepted, and actually it ended up costing us a lot of money. My advice from the mistake that we made is shop around. There are still some companies that do products that are reasonable and that are honest, and they would probably offer the same terms and conditions that we were offered of payment upon delivery of material. I think that you really have to shop around. It's one of the things that we did not do initially, but now we are pros at it. My last advice when it comes to material such as cement, you do not need to buy 300-600 bags of cement unless you've got somewhere to store. We didn't. We were just lucky that the cabin was slightly bigger than usual, so it was able to accommodate the 300 bags that we'd purchased initially. As we got more experience, we would order only per stage. So whatever the builder would say he would need on that during that stage is what we'd order. And I would advise that because you've got weather elements that can affect your cement and people stealing. Yeah. So now you are ready to build. You now need to get that stage form out because henceforth that will be your manual. My first tip at this stage is to make sure your builder is a class 1 bricklayer, number 1. Number 2, that they register with the city council. If you're using a construction company, which we didn't, we used an independent builder, you will probably also need to make sure that their credentials check out because and construction companies popping up all the time. So you just need to make sure. My other tip is to use your stage form as your mark for breaks. You will need to take breaks during your building. So I would suggest that complete a stage, get it inspected, then you take a break. You also may have got yourself a bill of quantities. Now, I can assure you, you will probably want to bin that bill of quantities because the quantities will never add up. Mabirida will always need more cement. They will always need more jidina, honestly speaking. So you've got to be prepared for the extra costs. Lastly, keep an eye out on your builder and inspector. There have been cases where builders and inspectors are very pally and end up passing stages that would have been required to be redone and are not adequate. I will show you some pictures of some errors that were made, and yet our inspector said, "Aiwa, should be perfect. Ya pasa stage E." So during our building journey, we decided to take a bit of a detour. We had always planned that we would not have a cottage, but then we decided to actually build a cottage because Baba and Myru would need somewhere to stay. And we know that we love these guys and we want them to be in our lives forever. So we decided to embark on this 3-month project, and now it is fully functioning. Magetsi, mvura, everything. So let's skip brickwork. We'll come back to that. Let's talk about roofing. The roofing was my biggest headache during our journey. Our dining room and kitchen is open plan. So that meant that there would be a lot of floating timber. Now, because of the floating timber, we had to get reinforcement, and it's still reinforcement. And that cost us an arm and a leg. Not only was the material for the roofing expensive, but now in addition to that, we had to add some steel reinforcements so that our roof would not sink in the future. One of the biggest takes from our journey is that we did not look at other options for roofing. We really didn't. Takangokura tichizoti kunoiswa matiles. So IBR sheets were very, very foreign to us. However, since we've been traveling a lot and we've been to Zimbabwe in January, I've noticed that there's so many buildings that are using IBR roofing, and it's absolutely stunning. We used an Airbnb the last time we came, and it was absolutely gorgeous. They had done IBR roofing. You can tell that they saved quite a bit of money, because obviously with tiles, you're going to use a lot of timber. And the tiles themselves are quite expensive. So I would suggest that look into newer ways of roofing. You know, sometimes as human beings, we're not used to change. And I think we've got to embrace times, especially when it comes to construction, because the way we build in Zimbabwe is so expensive. And I think that there's room for us to improve, because you can see sometimes Kunana England, Kunoku, they only take 6 months, a house is done, you know, and to conclude, I would like to highlight that this is the only part in your journey that you cannot take breaks once you start. You have to save all your funds for roofing. Kawan. I say this because once the timber goes on, your tiles or your IBR sheets have to come on next. You cannot leave timber exposed because of weather elements, kunaya and the like. You don't want to ruin your timber because it is so expensive. So my advice is save all the money that's required for that roofing, and then just do it all kawan. Even a good roofer would tell you this. This is our roofer Elvis. More. Nice to meet you. Hello, boys. Sorry.